I got really angry and told him I was leaving him for another guy. But he agreed and then divorced me. I thought I could threaten to leave my husband and make him beg me to stay, but instead he divorced me without wasting any time. My life is falling apart right now and I am responsible for it. I have been crying. I've been going through a rough patch recently. My husband and I had a big argument and I told him I'd leave him if he tried anything. Well, he served me divorce papers. I'm Anastasia, I'm 32 and I'm looking for advice. My husband Jackson is 33 years old and he's a hotel manager. My husband Jackson and I have been married for 6 years now. We first met at high school, where he was one of the best students. I got close to him so he could tutor me in some things I found difficult. It was from there we became friends and eventually started dating. Now we have been married for 6 years since the first day Jackson and I met. He has always looked out for me in times of trouble. Right now I've turned Jackson into a monster. He's threatened to divorce me, threw me out of the house in the middle of the night, and made me spend the day outside in the cold. I didn't know where to go or who to ask for help. He ignored me, and I was freezing and pleading for him to open the door. He's punishing me by making me sleep in the cold. After everything we've been through together, Jackson wants to divorce me. I try everything to make sure he changed his mind. I can't let another woman take over my place in Jackson's life. My husband can't just throw away our 6 years of marriage because of a threat. I know I cheated on him, and I won't deny that. But Jackson can't divorce me because I'd be broke and homeless. All our lives as married couples, we've been living on his money, not mine. Imagine him taking away that privilege from me. Honestly, I'm at a loss and I don't even know how to fix this. I'd love to hear your advice on what to do and how I can change his mind. I still love my husband and I'd like us to come back together. I really want to fix our marriage. I've turned a new leaf and I'm ready to do anything just so Jackson can change his mind. But right now, I don't think he's ready to listen to anything I have to say. I won't lie, guys. I lived comfortably with Jackson. He provides everything I need despite my monthly income. He paid all the bills and never allowed me to spend a dime on the bills coming from the house. Yes, guys, Jackson loved me. That much is true. Sometimes I would say to myself that I didn't deserve someone like him because of the way he treats me. But, despite all of this, my husband and I had just one. The other issue is the idea of me being a hotel manager. My husband was never keen on that, but I loved it. I took a job in a hotel after being jobless for 2 years. I couldn't figure out anything meaningful to do, so I sent out a few emails to different companies, but I didn't get any responses. At some point, Jackson told me to stop, but I wasn't doing anything I enjoyed. I was just bored at home. Jackson gave me a lot of. He gave me the money to go on vacation anywhere I wanted with my friends, just to take my mind off things sometimes. We went clubbing, had several dates, hung out with friends and attended a lot of family events together, but I wasn't happy. I wanted something to do. I didn't want to just be at home all day and would only go out at night to a club. I had always wanted to be a career woman, not just a housewife, so after our marriage, I couldn't find a job. I stayed home for 2 years. Before I was able to get one through a friend of mine, Patricia. Patricia was my friend from college. We got connected 2 years after graduation. Apparently, we lost contact after graduation because she went to the States to further her education. When she came back to town, she reached out to me. We hung out in a restaurant. We chatted about lots of things and recounted fun memories. It was there I told her about my inability to get a job. Patricia didn't believe me because I was good at. I looked for a job but didn't stress myself out about it. My husband wasn't complaining, but I knew I needed to find work. It was my choice though, and I didn't relent. After talking with Patricia, she agreed to help me out since I was looking for a job. So, I waited about a week. Before Patricia put me in touch with the company, it was a newly launched hotel, and they were looking for staff. All the other roles had already been filled, except for the position of receptionist. I was happy to give it a go, but my husband wasn't so keen. I wrote a few emails and managed to get the job. I was so happy to get the job, but I didn't realize it would be so difficult. It took over my life. I started seeing my husband less and less. The first 3 years were really challenging. I had to get used to waking up early and going to work. I got used to it and worked really hard, even becoming comfortable with the environment. My boss was impressed by my hard work, and Jackson was supportive too. He was a good man, and I let him down, as I said earlier. My infidelity, it all started when my boss invited me to a private party at his house with his friends. He wanted to thank me for all my hard work. At the time, my boss was single and not in a relationship. I went to the party without telling Jackson. I told him I was on night shift. The party was full of men and a few ladies. The night got so heated that I had a lot to drink. I drank a lot, but I was able to handle my liquor. I remember everything that happened that night. It was a bittersweet memory for me. The sweetest part of that night was the fun I had at the party. Even with my boss, it was bitter. Part of it is what I'm going through now. One thing led to another, and I found myself making out with my boss after everyone had gone home. My boss and I were the only ones left at his house. He offered to drop me off at my house, but I refused and insisted on staying longer. After a few minutes, I couldn't control myself. I went over to kiss him and things got pretty intense. We ended up making out all night. I'm not proud of what I did. I wish I could erase that memory from my head. That's not all. The next morning, I woke up and didn't find my boss in the room. He'd left early and left some cash on the table with a note telling me where to drop the keys when leaving. I felt pretty embarrassed and was regretting everything at that moment. I got angry and left the apartment a few weeks later. My boss called me into his office and handed me a piece of paper. Guess what, guys? It was a promotion letter. I got promoted to be the manager. Apparently, the former manager resigned. The space was vacant, so my boss gave me the promotion. At the time, I wasn't qualified for the manager position. In fact, I had other senior colleagues. The promotion shocked everyone, even my husband Jackson. He suspected something was fishy, but I managed to talk him out of it. Of course, it was because after the promotion, my boss and I made out and he gave me the position. My affair with my boss became regular. We even went on several dates, went on picnics, and went to clubs. My husband complained about my job being demanding. I was never around. It caused us a lot of issues between us, but I was still able to hide my affair from him. My boss and I managed to keep our affair a secret from my husband. We went on a trip together, far away from town. I told my husband I was visiting a sick friend, which seemed like a reasonable excuse. After a few months, my boss went on another trip with his close friends. My boss was going on a 2-month trip with some friends. I wasn't happy about it because I'd gotten used to being around him. My boss said he wouldn't stay that long and told me to take care of everything while he was away. Of course I did. I was the hotel manager. He went on the trip, and a few weeks into it I was already missing him, but I was able to manage it through. 1 month later, I was still waiting for my boss. By then, I had met someone. His name was Justin. I met him at the hotel when he had issues with the receptionist at the counter. There was a mix-up, and I was able to sort it out. We became friends after that. Justin was on a business trip that was supposed to last for a week. He booked the hotel I worked at, so I got to know him better. We chatted on the phone more because I didn't want the staff to suspect anything. I was always on my phone chatting with Justin. My husband knew something was up. My late-night calls and chats became more frequent, and I was always with my phone, smiling and giggling. He asked me why I was always smiling at the screen of my phone, but I told him it was just a random joke on the internet. Jackson would ask me to share so he too could laugh, but I would always look for a way out that always annoyed him. Justin and I started seeing each other. Outside the hotel, we booked another hotel, where I was sure that I wouldn't bump into anyone I knew. The new hotel was our hangout spot. Justin was filling the space of my boss, who my husband couldn't. I didn't know much about Justin at the time. I just wanted a companion to fill in for my boss until he returned. Justin's stay was supposed to last for a week, but he kept postponing it because of me. He wanted to spend more time with me. Justin knew I was married, but he didn't know anything about my relationship with my boss, and I were seeing each other until he returned from his trip. I was in a tricky situation. I was happy to see my boss back, but then there was Justin. I was getting used to Justin before my boss came back. I was confused. I had to keep both men away from each other so I wouldn't complicate things. My boss and I went back to how we used to be, but I limited the time I spent with him. I was caught between 3 men. My husband Jackson and the 2 men were my affair partners. None of them knew each other. I played the game well until I was double playing. I was in a relationship with Justin and we planned on eloping to his countryside. Justin really took good care of me. It was like I was falling in love for the first time. I didn't know what he used on me, but one thing I'm sure of is that he was really good with words. He brought the idea of going with him to his town and promised to take care of me. Money was the reason we stopped. I came up with a plan and started asking my husband for money, even taking some bundles without his consent. This went on for a few days, and my husband started complaining about the missing bundles. I denied knowing anything about it, but he didn't say anything. I thought I was smart, but I didn't know that my husband had me watched by a private investigator. The investigator followed me everywhere I went and even took some pictures of me and Justin together, as well as my boss. My husband then confirmed his suspicions about me cheating on him, but he kept quiet. I returned the bundles I stole from him to Justin so he could save up for us to leave the country. After confirming that I was traveling, I went to my boss's office and broke up with him. I lied to him, saying that my husband was getting suspicious of me and that I didn't want him to be implicated. I also told him to stop seeing us and to focus on work. My boss wasn't happy with what I told him, but I stood my ground and made it clear. He wasn't buying it at that moment, so I walked out of the office. I concentrated on my job and behaved normally. Justin left the hotel where I worked and moved somewhere far away. Back then, at the house, I packed my bags a bit so my husband wouldn't suspect anything. Justin and I planned the date we were to go and booked a ticket ahead of time. Everything was moving along fine, until one day my boss asked to see him. My boss told me not to end our affair, but I refused. He even went as far as he even increased my monthly income just so I could change my mind, but I didn't. At that time, I had made up my mind to be with Justin and no one else. A few weeks later, it was the period that Justin was to leave the country that week. I had arranged everything and packed all that I needed. I was really in a happy mood, not until there was a day remaining for us to leave. My husband came to meet me and asked me who the two men I was cheating on him with were. At first I was shocked, but I composed myself and denied it. That night it was past 11, it was 10 p.m. He yelled at me and demanded to know who they were. I didn't say anything. We got into a heated argument to back his allegations up. He brought out a stack of pictures of me and my affair partners. Jackson told me that I was the one stealing from him and told me to return every penny I stole, or else I wouldn't find it funny. I told him he couldn't do anything, and if he tried anything, I would leave him and he would never see me again. My husband pulled me he grabbed me by the arms and told me that he would make things easy for me. There was no need to threaten anybody. He dragged me out of the house. Jackson slammed the door and locked me outside. I banged on the door and asked him to open it, but he ignored me. I left in the cold. It was a cold night. My hands and feet were freezing. I had to run to the garage to spend the night. The next morning I woke up and I could barely walk. I pleaded with Jackson to open the door, but he didn't. He didn't open the door until it was time for him to leave for work. When he came out, he shut it immediately. I followed my husband, pleading with him to forgive me. I even went as far as staying at the gate, trying to block him from driving out. Jackson didn't care and ran me over. I ran out of the way when I saw him coming out at speed. After my husband left, I thought of what to do. Luckily for me, my phone was with me. I tried calling Justin, but his line was busy. I thought about going to the hotel to see him and tell him about the new development. I was still in my 90 seconds that morning and didn't mind showing up at the hotel where he was staying. I went to the hotel and went straight to the reception desk. I called the room number to tell Justin I was there, but the receptionist told me that Justin had checked out early that morning around 4. I called at 0. I was really disappointed. I wasn't sure if she had heard the room number correctly, so I repeated it for her. It was then that she told me the room was empty and that the person Justin had checked out. I was so mad at myself. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I fell to my knees and screamed. The receptionist called security and I was asked to leave the premises. I didn't know what to do. Justin ran away with the money I stole from my husband. I was deceived into eloping with him while he was using me to steal money from my husband. Now I'm in a huge debt and my husband told me I would pay everything, down to the last penny. I don't even know the figures because it was a lot. I thought Justin wasn't a fraudster. I really don't even know what to do right now because my husband is not being friendly with me. I have tried going over to the house to plead with him, but he's not giving me a chance." Patricia was really disappointed when she heard the news. She didn't hesitate to tell me straight away that she wasn't going to help. I asked her to spend a few days with her before getting myself back on my feet, but she refused. She turned her back on me and didn't care to look back. I never expected it from her. Patricia was the last person I thought could do that to me. As I write this, I'm in tears. The divorce stuff is really taking its toll on me. I really want to get back with my husband. I hope he changes his mind. I'm sorry guys, I've been really down. I've been trying my best to put my life together, but it's been difficult, especially when I have no money. To answer your question, Jackson and I have gone our separate ways. The court case wasn't in my favor. I used my last penny to hire a lawyer for the case, but it didn't go as planned. The divorce was finalized and we went our separate ways. I tried to get him to change his mind and forgive me, but he was set on getting a divorce. Now I have nothing. I went to my boss for help, but he fired me on the spot and filed a restraining order against me because I was going to his office too often, even after the divorce. I begged him to give me any job, even if it was doing the dishes, but he refused and called security to. I was humiliated. I've never been humiliated like that in my life. How could my boss turn his back on me after everything we've shared? Those moments we spent together didn't mean anything to him. I've come to the conclusion that he used me for fun. I was stupid to offer myself up to him like that. I shouldn't have let my guard down. My affair partner Justin scammed me out of my money. I haven't heard anything from him since we planned to elope to another place far away from here. I haven't had enough sleep because of that. I thought I could track him down, but I couldn't. He blocked me on all platforms and left no traces. Justin really did me dirty. Justin deceived me and stole from my husband. I really regretted it. I was blinded by a shallow love for my ex. My husband, on the other hand, wouldn't even want to see me. Jackson made sure to retrieve all the money I stole from him by selling all my expensive outfits and selling my card to top it up. He seized my credit card and swapped my life savings. I'm in a bad way financially. I'm penniless, living hand to mouth. I can't even get over my husband. I've been stalking him since our last divorce. Jackson's engagement is coming up in a few months. He's already moved on quickly. I'm here looking so unkempt and not even presentable enough to date anybody. My life is a total mess right now. I feel so ashamed of myself.